Welcome, beautiful souls. Today our guest is Sorrell Robbins, also known as Plant Spirit Medicine Woman. Besides being that loving and open-hearted being she is, she's a medical herbalist, a hypnotherapist, a shamanic practitioner, and a Cacaoista. Today, she will not only share her wisdom with us, we'll also dive a little bit deeper into her story of becoming who she is today. Enjoy the episode. I love you.
Your first gateway into magic or this plant spirit world was a plant. Would you like to share?
Sure.
Experience?
Absolutely. I knew I always wanted to help people in some way, and I thought psychotherapy might be the way, but I wasn't that impressed with the experience of psychotherapy myself, having received a little bit of it. So it kind of pushed me out of that way of moving forward. And then I got quite sick. When I got to 19, I had a stomach problem, and I was very, very sick, and I was losing a lot of weight, and I lost over a third of my body weight in about 6 months. And I'm quite slim, and I've always been quite slim. So I looked really, really ill. I looked like, I hadn't been eating, nothing had been digesting for 6 months. So no weight was going on. I was only losing weight. I looked ridiculously like a skeleton with skin on. And the doctors didn't know what to do with me. They kept giving me new pills, but they never really took it that seriously. But it was just a constant purging. Could not stop purging. Every morning I would wake up and I would purge about 12 times, even though there was nothing to purge. It would just be like something from my liver, just that the bile from the liver coming up. And so my boyfriend's mum, who very kindly paid for me to go and see somebody who wasn't a herbalist, she was a homeopath. So she worked with medicines in their vibrational form, and she gave me a remedy of calendula, which is pot marigold in the common name, but calendula officinalis in the Latin name. And immediately, as soon as I took this tiny little caps, this tiny pill, if you've worked with homeopathy, you know they're these tiny little sugar pills. Immediately I took this medicine. Within the consultation, we were together for about 2 hours. And immediately I felt the rush of the energy of calendula moving into me, the sunshine, the light, the smile came back on my face, because obviously when you're not eating properly and you're purging a lot, you get quite sad and depressed. And so the joy came back into my heart, and I immediately started eating okay again and stopped purging and started putting on weight. And within 3 days, I wasn't like as big as I was. I needed to put more weight on, but my stomach had stopped doing the purging. The food was going in, I was digesting, and no other medicine the doctors had given me had touched. I would just purge it back up again. It wouldn't even stay in. And so I was very happy about this experience. And when we talked about it more, she suggested that the calendula was helping me to release the anger in my body, to heal the anger that I was holding in my body. And that the phrase that she gave it was that I couldn't stomach any more trauma, that my physical body and my emotional and spiritual body had received so much trauma that my body was kind of on suicide mode, and it just didn't want to live anymore. Although my head was like still trying really hard, and my spirit was still like, I've got a survivor spirit, I will not give up. But my body was just like, nah, I'm done. And so it brought that life back into me. So I was so incredibly grateful for that experience. And then we continued to work together probably for about a year and a half, with different remedies, shifting different things. And the majority of the medicines she gave me were plants, but in their vibrational form. So when I researched it, I was still very much scientific. I had rejected the spiritual world because of bad experiences with the church, and also with somebody who was a witch that turned out to be a black magic witch. So I had a very bad experience of both the kind of pagan traditional, he wasn't pagan so much, he was Wicca witch, and also the more orthodox church type experiences. And so I didn't really understand there was about shamanism yet. I didn't know there was a different way. So the homeopathy didn't make sense either. That just looked like, how can that work? That doesn't make sense to me. So although I knew it had worked on me, I had this most amazing experience, my head wasn't happy with going down the homeopathy route. And then my mum sent me a little clipping in from a newspaper saying that they were starting up a herbal medicine degree course in a university and I could apply for it. And I managed to get myself into the university, I think partly because of my name, because it's sorrel, and sorrel is a herb. So I think somehow they liked my name and they liked the way I spoke. I was quite good in a group setting. We did kind of a group interview scenario. So I think I kind of blagged my way into university because I didn't get great grades at school. I was really good up to a certain point, and then all the trauma happened. And then I just flunked out of school. I was so like, my brain couldn't cope because of the trauma. So yeah, some magic came together for me. And it was through that degree course that I started to become aware of different cultures, different ways of seeing reality, even just learning about Chinese medicine, learning about yin and yang and qi made me think in a new way, and imagining that another culture could completely envision the world in such a different way to me, the way I was brought up, and taking on that mindset and living that mindset for a while I was training in it. And then also training in the scientific mindset and experiencing different cultures, experiencing Reiki, for example, and feeling the energy of Reiki, feeling it and having an initiation process myself and feeling it in my hands. And in that moment, I think that was really, a lot of people say this about Reiki, that when they have their initiation, they feel different. And it was true for me as well. And I could feel the energy moving in my hands like I'd never before. And so it was the herbal medicine degree that was the door to me to all the magic of medicine and all the different forms it comes in. Because herbs for me are my main way of working. And I am here in service to the plant people. And that's something I'm very conscious of, that sometimes I get a little bit tired of the world, because it's quite messed up. And it's not necessarily the way you and I would want it to be. We want it to be more harmonious. We want people to respect each other more. We want war to end. We want people to love each other and play nicely. It's not really that difficult to understand why, we would want that kind of world. And so sometimes when the world gets a bit heavy, the plants kind of remind me, it's okay, we're all working together. We've been on this planet like, oh God, how many millions of years? Like something like 500 million years they've been on this planet. And we've only been here 300,000. In the form that we're in today, we've only been here 300,000 years. We've not even a third of a million years yet here. And they're like, you're just our children, and you're just like teenagers who are rebelling and being naughty and taking advantage of your parents, and they're our parents and our grandparents. And so we'll teach you. Just let us guide you and we'll help you. And be patient with humans. So yeah, they keep me doing this work. Without them, I wouldn't probably be here today without them. So they saved my life, and now I'm in service to them forever. So that's pretty much the summary of how it all came together. Although there's lots within that as well, lots of other experiences.
When did shamanism come into your life? When did you start?
That came in because I needed some healing again. So I'm a classic tale of a wounded healer in that I've gone on these journeys for my own healing primarily. And then when I'm blown away by the experience, I get so excited and I'm like, I've got to share this with the world. And the same happened with shamanism. So I had this horrible experience with a black magic Wicca witch who groomed me when I was very young. I was only 17, and he groomed me and then took me into a sex magic ritual where he raped me. And then from that experience, I had a really big soul loss. So a part of my spirit body had separated off. So we call that soul loss. And I went to see, when you train as a herbalist, you often apprentice with other herbalists. And I'd chosen one Chinese medicine herbalist and another herbalist who also happened to be a shaman, because I wanted to experience the different cultures and the different belief systems that they worked within and understand them more, expand my awareness of what reality is. And this female shaman made me feel so safe. And I'd already been trained in hypnotherapy, and that now on reflection, that was also like a gateway to shamanism, because hypnotherapy and shamanism are incredibly similar. There's just less feathers and rattles. And so we were talking about hypnotherapy and shamanism, and we realized, they're really similar. And she suggested that she could do a soul retrieval for me. And then when she did a soul retrieval, she found the soul part that he had stolen in the ritual, and we released it, we got it back, we healed it. And I've been spending more time working on that energy always. Like it wasn't an instant cure, but it did completely change me in the moment at the same time. So at the time I was living with an osteopath. And so when I went home from this one treatment, this soul retrieval treatment, where she brought back that soul part for me and blew it back into me, I went home and he said, "What's happened? Your posture has completely changed. You look like about 5 inches taller." And I was standing straighter. I was like more strong, more powerful. I could really feel the energy in my body. And again, I was like, this is magic. I love it. It's amazing. And magic really is just something science can't explain yet. So, and there are other psychological practices you can do, which are very similar to soul retrieval, but I like the way soul retrieval works. I like the process of it. It's very fun. It's very engaging. And so then I continued with her as an apprentice of hers as a herbalist, but then she also was sharing with me for about 2 years all of her techniques and helped to build me up to take over her practice, because she was moving from London to Wales and she didn't want to come back to the clinic anymore to see her clients. She wanted someone to take over it that could do everything that she did to take care of her community that she was taking care of. And so she trained me up into the ways of that she'd learned. She'd learned a lot of Lakota traditions. Mostly it was Northern Native American shamanism with people like Michael Harner and Leo Rutherford, who were quite old school guys that first brought over shamanism into the Western world. Great teachers. Yeah. So I'm very blessed that I met the right person at the right time again. And she, in a way, she saved my life. She saved a part of my life. And now soul retrieval is one of the biggest things I work with as well. It's such an amazing tool. I love sharing it.
Changed my life too.
We did a cacao ceremony one, didn't we? Yeah. That's a different type of shamanism. That's Mayan shamanism. So Mayan shamanism is a large part of what I do now as well. So the Mayan shamanism came into my life probably about 8 years ago. And there's a lot more available knowledge now. The shamans are trusting and open. And also, this prophecy that we've got as well about the people coming together at this moment in human history, when we've poisoned the oceans, we've poisoned the water, we've poisoned the air, we've poisoned the earth, and we've poisoned our own medicines, which I think we see within the some of the orthodox medicines are not necessarily in Germany. I think you've got a better healthcare system than we have in the UK, but certainly in the UK, a lot of the medicines that they give us are poisoning us, and then we have to take medicines to stop the side effects from the original medicines that we've been given. It's crazy. So we've come to this time in our reality where everything is a little bit toxic, and then we recognize that we are one planet and that we can't disconnect. And I think COVID was also a teaching that we are all one planet. We can't, no matter how hard we try, we are all connected. Even if it's just by a tiny virus, we are all connected. Yeah. So I thank COVID for, in many ways, it was very damaging to a lot of people. So apologies to anybody that I may offend with these words, but I think the overall teaching of COVID is that we are one planet, and we all need to take care of each other. So for that message, I am grateful.
I totally resonate with that message.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of the different shamanic techniques that I've learned over the past it's probably been around 28 years now that I've been training, all come together when I work with people.
So magical, everything you do and how you bring it all together in sacred space.
It's like art, really. Like, you're an artist, aren't you? Yeah. So I think it's like art. You just, and I'm dyslexic as well. So I think I'm quite good at like having those random thoughts and then making those connections and weaving it all together into something new. Yeah. It's fun. It's creative.
It is creative. I thought about it yesterday. I thought about the fact that everyone can sing like with their voice, but they can also sing with their soul, and they can do it in all kinds of ways. And this is like your way of singing with your soul, or singing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like singing too.
Thank you for that. I also wanted to talk about rhythm and drums, because I saw you talking about in a video. I saw you talking about you feeling you lost your rhythm on a dance.
Yeah. That was another soul retrieval experience. Yeah.
Would you like to share your thoughts?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I did. I'm like many people of my era. I grew up when the rave culture was kicking off, so in the 80s and 90s. And so a lot of my teenage years and early 20s were going to raves, going to parties at the weekends. And it was a very tribal experience. People would come together, they would take psychedelics, and we would have an amazing time. The MDMA, the large doses of MDMA, never really agreed with me. I used to always purge on them, but maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was a little bit like people take ayahuasca and they purge at the beginning of the ceremony and then the good bit comes. So I would never feel great when I was coming up on these drugs, and I would often purge. So I didn't take them for very long, but I took them enough to kind of experience what everyone else experienced, that amazing tribal connection and that expansion of our heart space as well that we get when we take those medicines. And yes, they are medicines when they're used in the right dosage and in the right situation. But anything, I think, can be a medicine. Like even the most toxic things can be a medicine in homeopathy, for example, if you like dilute it down so much. And so, yeah, we can think about the microdosing that they're doing in America, for example, for ex-army people who have PTSD. Then they can work with it in a medicinal way. So back to the story. I was at a club one night, and I remember I'd had a little bit too much LSD, and I felt my soul lift out of my body and go up to the roof, and was just like, I was flying around the roof, just watching everybody beneath me, including my own body. But my body couldn't dance anymore because my soul had left my body. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't feel that, I couldn't hear the beat anymore. Something really weird happened. Like every cell of our body can feel the vibration of rhythm, but for some reason that ability just suddenly disappeared. And for a long time, years even, I could not dance. I really struggled to dance. Even if, like, some people say they struggle to dance unless they've had like a couple of drinks, like nothing would get me dancing. I would move, but I'd feel really awkward, and I had to really listen really hard. It wasn't natural, it wasn't organic. And then I was teaching soul retrieval at a weekend workshop, and as part of that, I was an assistant for my teacher that was also my first ever teacher in shamanism. And one of the other participants was doing a soul retrieval on me as a practice. and she found my drumming part and she blew it back into my body. And it's because the teacher was drumming for everybody all at the same time, I could hear the rhythm of the drum. Instantly, my body wanted to get up and dance. And from that moment on, I've not stopped dancing. And there is a really powerful teaching, I think, in the Basque tradition, where they talk about the 4 chambers of the heart. And the 4 chambers of the heart each have a different role. And they will ask you if you get sick, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being able to listen to other people talk to you? Like, you know, sometimes people get grumpy and they don't want to be around other people. And when did you stop being able to sit quietly in meditation? So if there's any of those things are out of alignment, you're not singing, you're not dancing, you're not able to be with others, and you're not able to meditate, then you're out of balance in your heart. And so that the heart is also our inner drum. So it makes a lot of sense to me that all of these things kind of came together, and it was a huge healing for me. And so now I love to dance. I love to drum. I hold drum circles all the time, and chanting circles. And I'm not a trained movement medicine person, or, you know, 5 rhythms or any of those styles of working with people in dance. So when I tend to hold space for those types of ceremonies, I tend to invite someone in that's more qualified, more experienced to hold space, and also so I can play. And not much, because I really like it. Yeah, I want to let loose. I don't want to be watching everybody too much. I'd like someone else to take that role in that moment. Yeah. And then the drum as well. The drum is so immensely powerful in the way that it heals us. And I use drumming techniques to heal people, drumming in circle with others. Again, I don't use any psychedelics at all anymore. I have done. I've enjoyed all the kind of, you know, microdosing mushrooms has been incredibly popular over the last few years. We've worked with that. I've played and I've experienced many, many things, but I feel like the drum and breath work and dancing can take you to the same place. That's really the gift. Plant medicines and mushroom medicines and all the medicines that are psychedelic can kind of open you up, but really you need to learn how to do that without them. Otherwise you're always going to be dependent, like an addict, in the wrong way. So, and that's okay for the people that want to do that and want to live that life. But even when I've, like, for example, when we journeyed to Peru recently and we met some shamans that work with plant medicines, coca leaf, for example, you can see that they have an addictive nature, these plants as well, that you are in service to them, but to the point where you are eating them every day. And so you can't be comfortable without them, which is not something I want. I'd rather work with something like drum. I'd rather be addicted to drum and dance than to... And all right, I may be a little bit addicted to cacao as well, because I rarely have a break. I do have cacao most days.
Cacao can you drink in one day?
Oh, well, it depends. I usually have a little cup in the morning, like 20 grams in the morning, and it's always ceremonial cacao and it's always pure. I love it pure. Sometimes I put things in it. At the moment, I'm working with an essence of hazel, like a flower essence of hazel. It's not really a flower, it's a tree essence. And to help me understand hazel, to get to know hazel as a plant medicine, because I'm always learning. There's so many plants on the planet and I always want to know more. So I have 20 grams in the morning, and then I do meditation with it, maybe some dancing, maybe some breath work, maybe some drumming, whatever comes through. I keep it playful, change it when I get bored. And then I'll have a little cup in the afternoon as well, if I feel I need more stamina, more energy, which is something I always look forward to as well. So very rarely I'll have a few days where I won't have any cacao, where I'll be detoxing, like doing a fast and then I just don't want to put anything in the body, particularly that's going to kick off my digestive function, because I want it to go into pure healing mode. So it's okay, I'd say, to have about 30 grams a day, And if you want to do ceremonial doses, then 42 grams is a good amount, like a really big amount. But the first time I did cacao, I only did like probably 15 grams. It wasn't very much. And I was literally high for 3 whole weeks. I could not have a single negative thought. I couldn't, all I could hear was music and beautiful words. It was just such a beautiful walk for 3 whole weeks until the little negative thoughts kind of crept back in again. But I am much more positive as a human being forever now. It's completely changed my consciousness working with cacao. And I was brought up by 2 very typical kind of British parents who are always seeing the negative in everything. And I don't see them, they do their best, and they're looking for solutions all the time. They like searching for the negative because they think they need to fix something. Whereas if you can be positive, then there's nothing to fix. Everything's perfect just the way it is. And that's one of the great teachings of Mama Cacao. Just to surrender to the moment, just to be in the moment, just enjoy life, be grateful. Yeah. So she's helped me to step away from that way of thinking which I was brought up with. So naturally, that's your inner voice, because that's all you've heard as you grow up, and to change it into a more positive voice in your head. Yeah, so life's much better. I still have negative thoughts, but I'm able to choose whether I follow them or not, or just go, nah, I don't like you, you can go, you're not for me.
That's good. Yeah, I think a lot of people know this programming from their parents and grandparents. But
way back.
You have a choice, and that's the thing that counts. You can choose to follow whatever you want to follow. I also wanted to ask you about your journey with the gongs. When did they get into your life, and how did you develop the relationship with them? And everything?
I met a wonderful lady, a local lady to me here, who teaches Kundalini yoga. So I was going to see her for Kundalini yoga, and she also does Gong baths for an hour, separate to the Kundalini. Some Kundalini yoga practitioners will bring in the Gong at the end of the session, but she does separate sessions. And so I went to some of her Gong baths and fell in love with the Gong. Just the feeling of it, the soundscape, the noises they make are so incredible. I also really enjoyed ambient music when I was growing up, like people like Brian Eno and Robert Fripp, even things like Pink Floyd, really weird, crazy music. And with that kind of, I really enjoyed that kind of music. And Gong's very ambient, Gong's very etheric, and there are so many layers to it. A good Gong anyway. Some, you can get a lot of bad gongs where they just make very loud flashy noises and they traumatize you. So I've had some bad gong baths too, but this wonderful woman that introduced me to Gong did the most amazing Gong sessions. And I then decided, so I got a voice from Mama Cacao came through, messages from Mama Cacao, and she told me that I needed to do a art exhibition. And I'm not an artist. So she said, well, I used to be an artist when I was at school, but my artist, maybe I need a soul retrieval, bring back the art part. Okay. But my artist self has kind of been left to one side for the science part. And she needs a bit of nurturing, that part. And so it made sense because Margate, where I live, is full of really amazing artists. It's, and some quite famous ones too. So I invited a lot of the local artists to join me for Cacao Ceremonies. And at that point, I wasn't playing Gong yet, but I really, really wanted them to vision with the Gong because I find the Gong's really powerful for visioning. And so I would hold these Cacao Ceremonies, and we got about 30 artists together, and we held lots and lots of different cacao ceremonies over a series of about a month with about 10 artists at a time, but they'd come back for more than just one session. And the intention for our journey was to journey into the earth, to meet Mama Earth and Mama Cacao, and ask them for a vision to share with humanity. And it was amazing. What we noticed, though, was that the person who was playing Gong wasn't quite shamanically conscious in the same way that I am. And so her energy wasn't quite in alignment with the journey that I was trying to guide people on. It felt just slightly out of sync, you know? And so I realized at that point that I would have to learn to play Gong myself. If I was going to do Cacao Ceremony with Gong, which was really the main reason I got into Gong was through Cacao, and wanting to weave the practices together. And so then I started researching all the different ways that you can learn Gong. I bought myself a little gong. I bought myself a Neptune, a pasty Neptune gong. So Pasty is a wonderful German company, and they make the best symphonic gongs in the world, in my opinion. And so I bought myself a little pasty Neptune gong. They're only small, they're like 28 inches or something, quite a small gong, and started playing that. And I would take that to my ceremonies. And Neptune is also very, very good for awakening your third eye consciousness and helping us to see the potential, our potential, but also the potential of this planet, like what the earth can be if we can all co-create that together, if we can all come together in harmony and garden this world so that we're all in balance together, rather than creating the imbalances that we've been doing by chopping down the forests and putting toxins in the oceans and all of that. And so Neptune helps us to see a better way. So it made sense. Also, I did a shamanic journey, and Neptune was the gong I was told to get. So I wasn't going to argue with that. So after working with Neptune for about a year, then the person that I wanted to train with, I'd been on her waiting list to join her gong courses. And her gong courses are usually booked up for 2 years in advance because she's so amazing. And somebody had dropped out, and I got an offer of a place. And this was all right at the beginning of COVID. So we were still allowed, in this country anyway, we were still allowed to go to school, but you weren't allowed to work so much. So I was like, hey, what else am I going to do with my time? Might as well learn Gong. And so, yeah, I made that investment and learned Gong with Sheila Whitaker, Sheila Whitaker, I love you so much. She is the most amazing Gong teacher. And I really am so grateful for her guidance and her inspiration. Unfortunately, she lives quite far away from me, so I don't get to see her very often. But whenever I go in that direction, I'll go and have a Gong session with her. She's just such a blissful person to be with, such an uplifter. So after working with her gongs, I realized gongs are, once you've got one gong, you want more gongs. It's a bit like, it's a bit like a collector's thing. You just want more because they work so beautifully together as well as instruments. And so then I bought a big gong, Sedna, the giant gong that I've got in the room. And then but they didn't kind of get on with each other. Sedna and Neptune weren't playing nicely. And I was like, why don't you're both, like, she's the goddess of the ocean, Sedna, and he's the god of the ocean. And I was like, are you guys at war? Like, what's going on? Why won't you play nicely? So then speaking to Sheila, she was like, you need a Mercury. So then I had to get a Mercury gong. And then once I had Mercury, then another couple of gongs came along that literally spoke to me when I played them. A Tibetan gong, which is made from recycled bowls. So they've got Bon shamanism woven into them. And she is pure magic. And then a Saturn gong, which came through and said there will be no more toxic masculinity on this planet when it spoke to me. And I know some people are a bit offended by the word toxic masculinity. So, but that's what it said. And when I didn't know it was a Saturn gong when I first started playing it, and it spoke to me. But then I looked it up, and Saturn is all about healthy boundaries. It's a very masculine energy. And it all made sense that it was going to help us to create order out of the chaos that we were in at that time during COVID. It was a very chaotic time. And then Chiron came in as well. Chiron came into my life because Chiron is an amazing healer. And whenever I play Chiron, he doesn't often play that much within the cacao ceremonies that I do when I'm doing groups, because he can bring up people's deepest wounds. And so I tend to only use Chiron when I'm working one-to-one, and I can facilitate a little bit more kind of personal treatment, because he can bring up trauma. When I first worked with Chiron, I went into a trauma release for like 3 days. And so I was at the Gong workshop, which lasts 2 days, and I started playing Chiron on the first day, and then I started getting the shakes and I started shivering. And it was June, it was a beautiful warm day, everyone was wearing shorts and t-shirts, and I was wearing like 2 pairs of trousers and a big pair of boots and furry socks, 3 jumpers, a puffer jacket, a hat, a scarf. I had hot water bottles, and I still couldn't get warm. And it's all the fear, the cold, the fear leaving the body. And people were looking at me weird and asking me what was wrong with me. And I'm like, it's okay, I'm just releasing all the trauma. And then, of course, because I was having such a powerful healing experience with Chiron, and then had to buy Chiron too, because I'm like, I have to share this. As tough as it is, I have to share this with the world as well when they come to me for one-to-one treatments, at least. Maybe not so much in the group work. Sometimes he comes out, but I'm a bit cautious as to who I bring out Chiron for. So every gong has its own gift, a little bit like the drums. The drums, when I work with a new drum, I will journey to meet the spirit of that drum. And the drum will tell me about its message, about what it's going to do for me. So I have a drum which is made from water buffalo. And when I journeyed to meet the spirit of my water buffalo drum, it told me its name was Egon, which is a German name, I believe. And I didn't even have a conscious memory of ever hearing the word Egon before, unless is it someone in the Ghostbusters movie or something? Or is it Igor in the Ghostbusters movie, I think, actually. So I had this name, and when I looked it up, it means strong with sword. And what Egon was telling me is that Egon is there to free us, to release us from our inhibitions so that we can be free, we can dance, we can move freely again, and that we're not held in the old construct, in the old way of behaving nicely. We don't have to behave nicely when Egon gets out and plays. We can be our true selves and be our authentic us. Yeah, so all the drums have their own unique story as well. Even the vegan ones I get. So I've got a few vegan drums made by Remo. And even they, although they're not made from an animal, they still have their own story. They still have their own intention. So I journey to meet the spirit of the vegan ones too, and they tell me what they want me to do with them. So drums have a real spiritual consciousness. The gongs have a real spiritual consciousness. I've never done a journey to meet my rattles or my flutes, but now I'm talking about it, I'm like, I should do that. You know, they've got some kind of intention and something they want me to weave through as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So all these different ways of working, I try and bring them together a little bit more. It's hard to, when we're doing the recordings that we do for the online YouTube ceremonies, it's harder to get the other instruments to play well with the equipment that I've got. But we're still learning. We're still learning about how to mic things up and record them so that we can get the sound quality good enough. But the gongs are the main thing, because we can edit them, we can make them sound amazing.
I love it. I love the soundscapes you create. It's next level experience.
I want it to be good, and I have to give a lot of credit as well to my partner Tristan, who is luckily he's trained. Yeah, he's amazing at what he does. He was a sound engineer for years, and so he's taken that ability, and now he just takes care of me. So he's my own personal production and sound engineer, and we're a perfect match for each other. Yeah.
I love the space you create. I feel so safe in it.
That's really important to me as well, because we've got to go into that safe space to tune into what might need healing, the vulnerability, so that we can heal. Okay, yeah, we will. We need to do some shorter things as well, because the hour-long YouTube ceremonies aren't for everybody. Some people just want a little short, clip. Like when I go on YouTube, I do yoga on YouTube all the time. And the teachers that I tune into, I'm usually tuning into like a 15-minute to 30-minute session. I'm not going to dive into a full hour. So I need to do the same for the audience, if that's what I'm enjoying.
Yeah, it's cool to have both options. For me, I love the hour. I love it. I could do 2 hours or 3 hours. Right there.
One
Oh,
day, come and we'll do it. Yeah,
please, I have to. I have to bathe in your presence. That's what I
that'd be
want to
amazing.
do.
Love it. You'll love Margate too. Margate's such a beautiful place. It's a really healing place, and
Oh,
it's where people used to come to heal
mhm.
many years ago. Yeah, so it's still got that healing energy.
I saw you talking about Qigong in a video too.
Mm.
But you're doing yoga now, or do you do both?
Yeah, I do it. I do it all. I do yoga. I do qigong. I don't do tai chi because I'm not strict enough. With the type of qigong I do is spontaneous qigong. So I know a few moves, but it's called Tai Chi Wu Qigong, the type that I practice, and it you start in a position, but then you feel energy start to move through your body, and so you become a channel for the energy of the earth, the energy of the sky, and it starts to move through your body, and it starts to unravel. And I feel that when I do yoga, I love yoga, but it's more structured. You're being told what to do. There's not that much flexibility within it, although you can, of course you can do something different to what you're being told to do, but you tend to follow the process that they're guiding you through because one move tends to lead to another move. So the Tai Chi Wu Qigong is very much a flexible flow. It's quite nice to do it with music in the background so that you can let go of your mental chatter. It's just easier if there's something distracting your mind, and you just allow your body to do what it needs to process. I have an old injury in my left shoulder from a very nasty car accident, and I still get osteopathy treatment for it every now and again. Like, it can go away for 6 months and then I'll do something and it'll just kick off again. Like, if I carry my gongs for too much time, then it can start like going into spasm. And so the Tai Chi Wu Gong helps it to kind of unravel and unfold again and feel safe again. And it's the same with the movement medicine type practices, like the 5 rhythms, the movement medicine, chakra dancing, ecstatic dancing. When you are releasing your control over your body and letting your body guide you through the dance, then your body starts to do something very interesting. If you can get your head out of the way, you can get your ego out of the way, and just allow yourself to move. And sometimes you find yourself doing movements that you've never seen anyone else do before, or like if someone was to watch you, they'd think you were doing some very weird modern dance, and that's okay with me. There's a group of, but there's more than one group locally. There's groups of women that go to the beach where I live, and they'll all have their headphones on and they'll all be listening to the same playlist on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, and they're all doing weird crazy dancing on the beach, and you'll see it at like 6-7 in the morning, like you're walking the dog, and there's a bunch of weird hippie women doing the crazy dancing, and I love it. If I wasn't walking my dog, I'd join in. So I think all of these things are equal, the qigong, the yoga, the movement medicine type, way of moving the body. All of these things are beneficial, all equal, and I just do whatever my body is calling me to do on the day.
I wanted to also give you a few minutes to talk about special programs or something you have to offer.
Coming up.
Because
wow. I have so many. Yeah. There's a theory that whatever you know, you need to teach. And once you've taught what you know, then you've made space to learn more. Mm-hmm. And I am an eternal student. I love learning. And so everything that I've learned, I like to teach. Mm-hmm. There's so much I would like to teach that I don't have time to teach everything all the time. So I have to teach things like once a year quite often. So we've just done a soul retrieval workshop for a weekend. That was amazing. I have a drum making workshop coming up in about a week's time. We'll probably do another one in October, later in the year as well. Drum making workshop. I have a drum healing workshop, using your drum, using crystals, using flower essences to heal the body coming up. That they're all weekend workshops. We have a gong healing workshop in November coming up as well, where you can come and learn how to use gongs in the shamanic way that I work. So it's different to the way Sheila Whitaker would train you, although I'm weaving in some of her amazing wisdom. It's impossible not to. But really it's coming from a shamanic perspective. So how to use it in shamanic ceremonies and how to use it as a shamanic healer. We also have a year-long program for people who are more local, unfortunately, than you are, who can come and join me to learn. Is learning the right word? It's a very experiential course. So we call it 13 moons because we journey. There are 13 moons in a year, 13 moon cycles, because the moon comes every 29.5 days through its cycle. And so through the year, we generally have about 13 moons. So it's a year-long course. We meet every moon. And every moon we work through a process to create something. I'll show you a little something. So we create a mazer. Now inside this bag, I'm not going to open it up because we'll be here too long going through everything in this little bag. In this bag we have 13 stones, and the 13 stones represent specific connections that I've made over 13 moons. And then this is a Peruvian tradition to make a mazer bundle. And it's like a little mobile altar. And this mobile altar I can take with me. I always have it in my therapy room when I'm working with people as a healing tool. Within it, because the 13 stones you can also use for divination, this is a way I work every full moon. I listen to my stones and I talk to them, and they tell me what I'm supposed to do for the next moon cycle. So they're like I have my own kind of tarot card reading once a moon, but I've got my mazer stones to do that instead. And then my different spirit guides that I'm very closely connected to. So in the Lakota story, we have 405 different teachers available to us, spirit guides available to us. That's a lot, right? I mean, can you remember 405 of your friends' names? Like you've probably got friends on Facebook and you can't remember half of them. So we are closely connected to a small group of our spirit guides. And then there are many, many more available to us at the same time. And so this is a teaching where we connect you up to 13 of your personal spirit guides, your teachers, plant medicines, animal medicine, medicine from above, from the upper realms, your guides from the cosmos. And yeah, so people go through that process and I'm guiding you through it, but I'm not telling you what to see or telling you how to interpret it. I can help you and assist you, but the real beauty of this course, as far as I'm concerned, is that we are showing you where to look, but we're not telling you what to see, and we're not telling you how to interpret it. And people go through a transformational journey through that time. It's a very empowering journey. We work through ancestral runes, we work through the elementals, the connection to the water, the earth, the air, the fire, the ether. We work with our connection to Great Spirit. We work with manifestation tools, how to talk to spirit in the language of symbols, how to do divination, so many different things. I'm working with plant spirit medicine every time as well. We take you on a dieta process throughout that 13 moons so that you can try a new herb each moon and really get to know them. So you've got 13 plant teachers as well that you get strongly connected to, as well as all the other teachers. Then the other course I teach is called the Shamanic Initiations course. That's over 9 moon cycles. And that is linked to if you know the shaman Alberto Villoldo, he teaches from the Four Winds, I think the Four Winds Society. I can't quite remember how they term it, but they teach the Munai-Ki rites. And so I've been initiated. I'm kind of fourth in line from Alberto, and I teach those rites and share those rites. And again, it's another empowering transformational journey, but it's working with those rites. And those rites come from the Laika tribe, and they are believed to be 104,000 years old, these rites. And the Laika tribe were keeping them very sacred, very secret. I think it was 1996 that they decided it was okay to then share it with the world, that we were ready and that we needed this upgrade. And we needed this upgrade fast to become a new way, a new type of human. and that human is being called Homo luminous. And there's lots of qualities about that human. So we're just going to be glowing eggs. At some point, we're going to stop being physical, or we're going to stop interpreting our experience of being a vibrational body, and we'll just be like a giant luminous egg, I imagine. Maybe that will be in 1,000 years when we've evolved that far. We'll just appear like that to each other. And these rites help us to realign into this new human. And it's thought to even change DNA. All the medicine goes that deep when we work with it. And I integrate into that as well cacao ceremony and more teachings about plants, more teachings about shamanism. So we work with those two different courses as like longer courses, as well as all the other kind of short little courses that I run. Sometimes I teach herbal medicine to small groups as well that ask me to. There's so much that we can share, and then I'm always learning. Like last year I took another drum course so that I can really integrate the Lakota teachings from the teachers from that part of the world, because although I'd had lots of experience, I'd never come on a formal course with drumming, so I wanted to take a really long formal course. But yeah, you can never stop learning in shamanism. It's such a huge umbrella term. There's so much to learn that I learn and then I share. As soon as I learn it, that's also a really good way to remember what you've just been taught, especially as a dyslexic. So I will teach immediately what I've just learned and share it with others.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And sharing all of your knowledge and everything and your being and shining your light on this planet. You've changed my life forever.
Oh,
I will never forget that.
Really so grateful for the work that you're doing. I truly believe that as we heal ourselves, then that healing ripples out and starts to change everybody around us. You know, it's that experience of dropping a stone in a pond and the ripples just spread out. So your healing is touching everybody, and then we'll all raise the vibration of the planet, and we will get to that place that we're dreaming of. We've got to dream the new dream. That's the most important thing to mention, I think, as we kind of close our conversation, is that there are so many people who are fighting for the environment, and that's all great, but we equally have to dream the new dream. We have to come up with new ways. We have to work in harmony. We have to plant the seeds of the new dawn, the new day that's coming, not just shout at people for doing wrong stuff. Equally, we have to do the right stuff too, so that we can bring this world back into balance.
Aho!
I feel good now I've said that.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so inspired just by talking to you. My God.
Oh, you're such a joy. You're such a joy. But I'll see you at the next new moon ceremony, hopefully.
Oh, yes. I'm going to
Cacao ceremonies. Yeah, if you want to connect online as well. For the global audience, there's always the cacao ceremonies. And there's a few online courses as well on the website that you can take if you're not local.
I will put all the links in the description of the video.
Yeah, plant spirit medicine now is associated quite a lot with psychedelics. When I first started training as a plant spirit medicine person, I was working with Romani shamans, sorry. And the Romani shamans were working with plants from a supermarket. They had like mint and sage and parsley. And I was like, do they mind that they're from a supermarket? Like, are they still healing? And they're like, well, they still have the energy. They still have the intention to heal us. So I've chosen to be plant spirit medicine woman because it describes me more, and not just saying it's all about psychedelics, because unfortunately for me anyway, in my worldview, plant spirit medicine is all plants. It's not just about the ones that make you see funny stuff or hear funny stuff. Yeah.
I put all the links in the description so people can find you and join you in whatever you're doing and what they feel called to do. And I hope
You're an angel.
You are an angel.
Oh, we're growing our wings.
Yes. Okay. Thank you from my heart. You are true inspiration. I love you. I just love you.
I love you too. And we'll see you soon.
Beautiful beings, thanks for watching this episode. If you want to see more, like and subscribe, and hit the bell. And if you want to work with this beautiful woman, check out the links I put in the description box below. I love you.